On the night of May 30th, 2005, the tropical paradise of Aruba became the backdrop to a chilling mystery that would grip the world for nearly 2 decades. Natalee Holloway, an 18-year-old high school graduate from Mountain Brook, Alabama, had her whole life ahead of her. Bright, ambitious, and full of promise, she was celebrating the end of her high school with friends, unaware that this trip would change everything. Natalee vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and heartbroken loved ones. The case became an international sensation, casting a shadow over the island's idyllic reputation. For years, her disappearance was shrouded in speculation and chilling theories, with one name repeatedly coming to light: Joran van der Sloot. In 2023, the case took a startling and unexpected turn. After nearly 2 decades of uncertainty and relentless speculation, the truth that had remained hidden in the shadows was finally brought to light. The haunting events of that night revealed a story of violence that had overshadowed the investigation from the start. What happened that night, and why did it take nearly 2 decades to uncover the truth? Let's get into the Natalee Holloway case. Supposed to be the perfect end to an unforgettable trip. The sun had set over Aruba's sandy shores as Natalee Holloway, an 18-year-old high school senior from Mountain Brook, Alabama, soaked up her last evening on the island. She and her classmates were celebrating their graduation, enjoying the freedom of tropical beaches and the excitement of Aruba's vibrant nightlife. That night, the group headed to Carlos and Charlie's, a bustling bar in downtown Oranjestad. Laughter and music filled the air as tourists and locals mingled, the kind of carefree atmosphere that made it easy to let one's guard down. Among the crowd was Joran van der Sloot, a 17-year-old Dutch national whose charming demeanor belied a darker reputation. Known for frequenting bars and casinos, Joran had a knack for striking up conversations with unsuspecting tourists. At some point during the night, Natalee and Joran crossed paths. Witnesses later recalled seeing her leave the bar around 1 a.m. with Joran and 2 of his friends, the Kalpo brothers, Deepak and Satish. The group climbed into a gray Honda, the night still alive with possibilities. Natalee was smiling, carefree, completely unaware that she would never return to her hotel. By morning, worry turned to panic. Natalee was nowhere to be found, and her friends couldn't reach her. What started as a joyous celebration quickly became a nightmare. Her family flew to Aruba immediately, with her determined mother, Beth Holloway, at the forefront. The search began, and all eyes turned to the last people seen with Natalee. Joran van der Sloot, the charismatic teen who had left the bar with her, was questioned by authorities. His initial response? He didn't know her. But as suspicions grew, his story shifted. He admitted to spending time with Natalee that night, but insisted he had dropped her off safely at her hotel. Each new version of his account raised more questions than answers, and soon the investigation hit a roadblock. There was no physical evidence tying Joran or the Kalpo brothers to Natalee's disappearance. Years passed, and the case went cold. But Beth Holloway, Natalee's mother, never gave up. She searched relentlessly, hoping for even a sliver of truth. In 2010, Joran resurfaced with a cruel proposal. For $250,000, he claimed, he would reveal what really happened to Natalee and where her body was hidden. Desperate for closure, Beth wired him $25,000 as a down payment. But the information Joran provided, a claim that Natalee was buried beneath a house's foundation in Aruba, was nothing more than another lie. His extortion attempts added another troubling element to an already complex case. The claim about Natalee's remains being under a house's foundation was quickly disproven, and Joran van der Sloot faced charges of extortion and wire fraud in the United States. This scheme revealed his shocking callousness and greed, but it was far from the most chilling crime he would commit. On May 30th, 2010, 5 years after Natalee Holloway's disappearance, Joran struck again, adding another dark chapter to his criminal history. This time, his victim was Stephanie Flores Ramirez, a Peruvian college student he met at a casino in Lima. What began as a chance meeting turned into a tragedy. Stephanie's life was brutally taken after she reportedly rejected Joran's advances. Her body was discovered in a hotel room, and the scene bore disturbing similarities to the events surrounding Natalee's case. Both victims were found in situations where they were isolated and vulnerable. Natalee after leaving a bar with Joran and his friends, and Stephanie alone in a hotel room with him. Joran was arrested, tried, and convicted of Stephanie's murder, receiving a 28-year sentence in a Peruvian prison. Even from behind bars, Joran continued to cast a shadow over the Holloway family. His lies and manipulations kept their pain alive, with each new development reopening old wounds. In 2023, he was temporarily extradited to the United States to face charges related to the extortion of Beth Holloway. During this time, a plea agreement led to a moment that the world had been waiting for. Joran confessed to killing Natalee. In a courtroom filled with tension, Joran admitted to the horrific details of that night in 2005. He claimed that after leaving the bar, he had attempted to assault Natalee on the beach. When she resisted, fighting back with remarkable courage, his temper exploded. In a violent outburst, he knocked her unconscious and used a cinder block to end her life. After ensuring she was lifeless, he dragged her body into the ocean, watching as the waves carried her away into the darkness. For Beth Holloway, the confession was both devastating and cathartic. Standing in court, she confronted Joran with unshakable strength, her voice steady yet heavy with emotion. "You terminated her dreams, her potential, her possibilities," she told him. "You didn't get what you wanted from Natalee, so you took her life in the most brutal way." Though the details of her daughter's final moments were heartbreaking, the confession finally brought an end to years of unanswered questions. It was a grim closure, but one that allowed Beth and her family to begin the process of healing after nearly 2 decades of unimaginable pain. Beth Holloway's words cut through the courtroom like a knife, underscoring not only the brutality of Joran van der Sloot's actions, but also the torment he had inflicted on her family for years. It wasn't just the murder that haunted her, but also the lies, deceit, and cold manipulation that followed. Despite her sorrow for Joran's family, whom she believed had also suffered because of his actions, Beth made it clear there would be no forgiveness. "You are a killer," she told him with unwavering conviction, "and I want you to remember that every time that jail door slams."
Well, today I can tell you with certainty that after 18 years, Natalee's case is solved. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. It's over. Joran van der Sloot is no longer the suspect in my daughter's murder. He is the killer. In the course of his felony prosecution, here for extortion and wire fraud indictment, he gave a proffer in which he finally confessed that he killed Natalee. He described when and how he killed her. He said that after killing her on the beach in Aruba, he put her into the water, and that was the last that he ever saw her. It's been 18 years since Natalee disappeared, and Natalee would be 36 years old today. I still miss her every day. It's been a very long and painful journey, but we finally got the answers we've been searching for all these years. We finally, today, we got justice for Natalee. You will also have details of the plea agreement which was reached. His sentence of the extortion and the wire fraud will run concurrently with a sentence in Peru for killing Stephanie Flores. And that's fine with me. Thanks to a lot of very smart and dedicated people here, I got the answer I've been searching for the past 18 years. Joran van der Sloot's confession means we have finally reached the end of our never-ending nightmare. And for me, reaching the end of the nightmare, being over, is better than closure. It feels victorious. I feel like you finally begin to transition from the victim to the victor, and it begins to make the pain and suffering feel somewhat less intense because you are here. You are at this point, the pinnacle of the journey, and you've gotten justice and you've gotten the answers you've been so desperate. It is shocking and it is horrific to hear a killer that describing the brutal things that he did to my daughter, Matt's sister. It's shocking and it is very disturbing, but it's things that parents have to know the truth. They have to hear the answers as to what happened. Natalee was very bright, very smart, dedicated young lady. She was on her way to college. She was headed to medical school after that, and I have no doubt she would have made it all the way. So we love her, we miss her very much, and we wake up every morning with thoughts of Natalee, but now we wake up knowing that we have reached justice for Natalee. So
she was truly the best sister I could have ever asked for. Absolutely. But
All right, good job.
Joran's courtroom confession came as part of a plea agreement. In exchange for finally admitting to Natalee's murder, he received a 20-year sentence for extortion charges, to be served alongside his existing Peruvian prison sentence. U.S. District Judge Ana Manasco initially wrestled with the idea of rejecting the plea deal, wanting to impose a harsher penalty. But ultimately, she accepted the terms to ensure Joran's confession could not be retracted. In court, Joran claimed he had turned over a new leaf, citing a newfound religious faith and insisting he was no longer the man he had been in 2005. His demeanor, however, told a different story. Many were unconvinced by his words, pointing to his lack of visible remorse. Natalee's father, Dave Holloway, was among those who rejected Joran's so-called apology outright. With quiet anger, he dismissed the killer's attempts to feign regret. Dave stated, "He expresses no remorse, regret, or even compassion for committing the horrific crime that violently ended Natalee's life and irreparably changed the trajectory of all of ours." The unsettling parallels between the cases of Stephanie Flores and Natalee Holloway highlight a troubling pattern in Joran van der Sloot's behavior, particularly his inability to accept rejection. In both instances, his actions followed situations where he faced resistance, leading to devastating outcomes. In Natalee's case, it has been reported that she resisted his unwanted advances, which led to a violent response. Similarly, Stephanie's case involved a confrontation in a private setting, a hotel room in Lima, Peru, after she rejected him. Both women were in isolated and vulnerable situations, which Joran exploited. His inability to handle rejection responsibly, coupled with his calculated attempts to obscure the truth, underscores a repeated and deeply concerning pattern of behavior. The scars left by Joran's actions, both on that fateful night in 2005 and in the years that followed, would not fade easily. The confession may have closed one chapter of the Holloway family's nightmare, but it left behind a trail of unanswered questions. Natalee's remains were never found, and the specter of Joran van der Sloot's deceit loomed large. For Beth Holloway, however, the confession brought something she had chased for 18 long years, a definitive acknowledgement of what happened to her daughter. The search for answers had defined nearly 2 decades of her life, and now she finally heard what she had long suspected. Joran had taken Natalee's life in a moment of rage and discarded her as if she meant nothing. Standing outside the courtroom, Beth's words were resolute, if bittersweet. "I have what I need," she declared. While Beth Holloway may now have the answers she sought for nearly 2 decades, understanding the man behind these heinous acts sheds light on the deeply disturbing psychology that fueled them. Joran van der Sloot's actions were not just crimes of passion. They were the calculated deeds of a man driven by manipulation, rage, and a lack of remorse. Joran van der Sloot's behavior strongly suggests traits commonly associated with psychopathy, narcissism, and manipulation. Understanding his behavior requires examining his actions through the lens of criminal psychology. Disclaimer: the following analysis is based on publicly available information and should not be interpreted as a professional psychological evaluation. We are not psychologists, and this discussion is intended to provide insight into Joran van der Sloot's behavior from a general perspective, not a clinical one. The psychopathic core. One of the most defining aspects of Joran's personality is his apparent psychopathy. Psychopaths often exhibit superficial charm, a grandiose sense of self-worth, and a chilling lack of remorse, all traits that Joran has displayed repeatedly. From the early stages of Natalee Holloway's case, Joran presented himself as calm and collected, even while under intense scrutiny. His shifting accounts of what happened to Natalee demonstrate not only an ability to lie effortlessly, but also a belief that he could outsmart everyone around him. Psychopaths are known for their inability to experience genuine emotional connections, which allows them to exploit others without guilt or hesitation. Joran's extortion attempt on Beth Holloway, demanding money in exchange for false information about Natalee's remains, is a stark example of this. Even as a grieving mother sought answers, he saw an opportunity for personal gain, showing no regard for the emotional devastation his actions would cause. Manipulation and deception. Joran's manipulative tendencies have been a hallmark of his behavior. He thrived on creating confusion, offering multiple, conflicting versions of his involvement in Natalee's disappearance. This web of lies not only stalled investigations but also kept him in control of the narrative. Manipulation is a common tool for those with psychopathic traits, as it allows them to maintain dominance and avoid accountability. In his interactions with law enforcement and media, Joran often appeared calm and articulate, using his charm to deflect suspicion. However, beneath this facade was a calculated effort to obscure the truth and exploit the trust of those around him. His ability to feign normalcy while harboring dark intentions is a key feature of his criminal psychology. Narcissism and entitlement. Joran's narcissistic tendencies are evident in his inflated sense of self-importance and entitlement. He came from a privileged background, being the son of a prominent family in Aruba, which likely contributed to his belief that he was untouchable. Narcissists often believe they are above the rules and immune to consequences, a mindset Joran demonstrated through his audacious behavior, including his repeated lies and his attempt to extort Natalee's grieving mother. This entitlement extended to his treatment of others, particularly women. His actions suggest a deep-seated view of women as objects to be controlled and discarded when they no longer served his purpose. This dehumanization is a hallmark of violent offenders who lack empathy and see others only as tools for their own gratification. Explosive rage and violence. Joran's crimes reveal an underlying inability to manage frustration or rejection, leading to explosive violence. In both Natalee Holloway's and Stephanie Flores's cases, rejection appears to have been the trigger for his lethal outbursts. Psychologists often describe this as narcissistic rage, where an individual reacts with disproportionate aggression when their sense of superiority is challenged. In Natalee's case, her resistance reportedly enraged Joran, pushing him to commit an act of extreme violence. Similarly, in Stephanie's murder, the rejection he faced after she discovered incriminating evidence on his laptop likely fueled his brutal attack. This pattern of behavior highlights a dangerous combination of impulsivity and entitlement, where Joran believed he had the right to assert control through violence. Lack of remorse and empathy. One of the most chilling aspects of Joran's psychology is his lack of remorse. Throughout the years, he showed no genuine regret for his actions, instead using the pain of others as leverage for his own gain. In court, his apologies appeared hollow, devoid of the emotional weight one would expect from someone who had caused such immense suffering. This emotional detachment is characteristic of psychopaths, who often struggle to understand or care about the feelings of others. Instead, they focus on their own needs and desires, viewing others as mere pawns in their personal game. A pattern of predation. Joran's behavior also aligns with the traits of a sexual predator. His frequent visits to tourist hotspots and casinos suggest a calculated effort to seek out vulnerable targets. Predators like Joran often exploit situations where they can establish dominance, using charm to lower their victims' defenses before striking. This predatory nature is further reflected in his manipulation of the media and his victims' families. By controlling the narrative and playing on the emotions of others, he prolonged his influence and maintained a sense of power, even from behind bars. Joran van der Sloot's criminal psychology paints a portrait of a dangerous and manipulative individual driven by a need for control, a lack of empathy, and a profound sense of entitlement. His actions demonstrate the devastating impact of psychopathy when combined with privilege and opportunity. While his confession to Natalee's murder may have provided some answers, his pattern of lies and exploitation hints that the full truth may never be known. The case of Joran van der Sloot serves as a sobering reminder of the darkness that can reside in seemingly ordinary individuals, emphasizing the importance of understanding the psychological profiles of such offenders to prevent future tragedies. Natalee Holloway's case serves as a chilling reminder of how darkness can lurk behind even the most idyllic backdrops. It is a story that underscores the dangers of misplaced trust, the devastating consequences of violence, and the enduring strength of a family determined to uncover the truth. While justice has been somewhat served, the scars left by Natalee's death and the unresolved questions surrounding her disappearance continue to haunt those who loved her. It is a tale of unimaginable loss, but also one of unyielding perseverance, a testament to a mother's relentless fight for the answers her daughter deserved. And that brings us to the end of today's case. If you have any information or thoughtful insights about this case, please let us know respectfully in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on future cases. And until next time, when we explore another bone-chilling case, right here on Slice of Darkness. Stay vigilant, stay safe.